Hey, welcome to another episode of the Rob Report. I'm your host, Robert Bob TV Brown. Before we get into this segment, by the end of this video, I want you to do a few things for me. First of all, if you like the video, hit the like button. Please do. If you don't like it, hit unlike. It's okay. Make sure you are subscribed to this channel. Sometimes, as Jimmy Dole would say, you find yourself unsubscribed and you need to make sure that you subscribe to this channel. Hit the notification bell right next to it so you can be notified when a new video is being dropped. Whoop, there it is. And more importantly, the super chat will be on for this segment. So if you want to donate toward the efforts of Bob TV, that's freely up to you. I do have a job, but any amount will help toward the growth of this channel. And more important, let us help you help us by introducing you to a program. There's a link down below that says Equal Justice for All. You're going to click that video link and there's some educational tutorial about a phenomenal program in America that is really making equal justice a reality for every citizen. So this program is phenomenal. The proceeds from you participating in the program will go back, 10% will go back into the Bob TV YouTube channel. So anyway, my name is Robert Brown with the Rob Report. Let's get into it. Hey, good day. Welcome to another episode of Rob Report. I'm your host, Robert Bob TV Brown. How you doing today? In this segment, we're going to continue a special report on what killed Kamala Harris's campaign. The first one we talked about was her horrible record. Her horrible record as district attorney, prosecutor, not Secretary of State, but Attorney General, was just horrible. It was nothing to be proud about, but yet she would get on this stage and say, I'm proud of my record, in the order of her opponent, Joe Biden. To me, she never looked like female Obama up there. I never saw her that. I saw her as female Joe Biden because she has one of the hardest prosecuting record than anybody on that stage. The only person come close is, Joe Biden has the hardest. She's the second. Amy Klobuchar is the third. But she was right there neck and neck with Joe Biden. That's why seeing them together shows me a picture of what could possibly be a presidential ticket of Biden-Harris campaign 2020. And that's a problem. And I'm going to explain to you that Biden-Harris 2020 is a huge problem because prosecutors don't make good presidents. Because all they know how to do is prosecute. And we're going to talk about that in a second. This is so important, man. I think this is good to go over what really killed her campaign because they want to blame it on black people who self-hate themselves. Really? We hate ourselves because we want to support that crime riding. Get out of here. We hate ourselves because we actually know how to look at a person's record and we say, we're going to vote for you based on your record, not your skin or your character. You know, because that was Dr. King said, we're going to be judged by the, not by our skin, but by the content of our character. We're not looking at skin like Willie Brown did. We're looking at the content of your character. We're looking at a woman who knows what it's like to be a parent until recently when she got married to a husband who already had kids. Don't know what it's like to be a parent of a child who's struggling to make it through high school in LA and in San Francisco and in San Diego and in Oakland. Don't understand that, black kids had to deal with the pressure of gang pressures and how it was hard for them to go to school and getting beat up and getting jumped by the gang and stuff like that. But it don't matter. I don't care. If your kids don't show up for school, I'm coming to lock you up. Not sitting down finding out how to deal with that situation, how to probably get them homeschooled, how to have somebody pick them up and keep watch over them at school. So much today. This lady, her record is horrible. She stands by her record on that stage. She was challenged by Joe Biden and Tulsi Gabbard. And she had no real defense for her record. She could not explain her horrible record. All she can say is, I'm proud of my record, and I was this and I was that. Sound just like Joe Biden. I'm proud I was this, I was proud of that. I wasn't a prosecutor like you, I was a defender. Yeah, but you're a defender, but you came with the most harshest crime policy since slavery. Now we're going to get into the second segment on what killed Kamala Harris' campaign. This is what killed Kamala Harris' campaign. Kamala Harris got to understand that nobody's going to get a nominee without the black vote. And that we are usually the ones that carry people over in votes. Unfortunately, at this moment, even though there's a lot of Hispanics in this country, and it's easier for Hispanic to come into this country than blacks, at the current time, we reign when it comes to getting the vote out. Hispanics vote, a lot of Hispanics vote for Republican, a huge numbers. It ain't the same way with black people. 75% of black people plus, and I'm just being modest, vote Democrat. Can't say that with Hispanics, with Latinos. So our vote is very important. But what she tried to do is she tried to play with black emotions. She tried to placate to black. She tried to pander to black with her Snoop Doggy Dogg and I smoke weed, and I think it's a little more joy. We should let people be free to smoke weed because it'll make the world more funner. But we're going to go into some of these things that cost her the election. This one right here was, I'm not going to do anything just for black people. No. And if I do policies that's going to help all people, it will help black people. Well, it's not going to help us close the wealth gap. It's not going to help us survive because we fade out financially and we're not going to be that important if we don't make any demands. And that's what they want. And you're willing to give them what they want because you're not primarily black yourself. And I'll always keep hitting on you. Majority of you is East Indian, upper class India, raised predominantly most of your life in Canada, a little bit in California and Berkeley. My parents was freedom, civil rights leader. Yeah, at Berkeley at that time. But your parents split up. He went his way, graduated as an intelligent man from Stanford. Your mom went to Canada. I don't think she wanted him around y'all at all. She probably would. I don't know. I know how some parents are. Some parents get bitter and they hate the father. And then the kids end up hating the father. And I can sense that you hate your father. I sense that. I could be wrong. You and your father don't get along. Based on the latest op-ed he did, y'all don't pretty much get along. He loves you, but y'all don't have a relationship from what I'm seeing. Number two, that probably plays in the factor that you're more on the side of women issues than men issues. There's no equalness to that. And you literally think black men got a lot of props than women. Women got more rights than black men. You can never lump black men up with men in general. We have our own issues that we're fighting, but nobody talks about the black men issues. And right now, white women, black women issues are in the forefront, but black men issues are way down at the bottom totem pole. And I believe women should get their fair gain and attention to get their needs met. But we should never neglect other people in order to do it. As soon as the LGBT community came out with their mission, their statement, their agenda, and their demand for it, and if you don't give it to us, we ain't voted for you. You guys went, your political leaders went that way and gave them what they want. But as soon as black men step up to make demands, oh, you guys are bots. Oh, you guys are stupid. A lot of black women went with the white women issues and then side with black men who's fighting for black issues, period. You very rarely hear about the black man's agenda. That was back maybe with Farrakhan back then. They talked about the black man, but they include the women in there too. But you very rarely hear about black men issues. We talk about black issues. We don't separate it. But people like Ms. Harris and other people in the political sphere, they focus on women's rights. They focus on gay rights, and nothing wrong with that. But they want to push these agendas and neglect black agendas, which they fail to understand that most of these black women are a part of the black agenda, that they need to be in that fight. But you got so many that will join the LGBT in their fight, or they'll join the women's movement in their fight, but when it comes to black issues, they're not in the fight. Now, I'm not saying all of them like that. We got real sisters that are in the black fight. Now, anytime Kamala Harris goes on stage and do a speech, she talk about LGBTQ, she talk about Hispanic rights, she talk about immigrations, she talk about, but she don't talk about black issues much. Now, Kamala Harris went on the griot and she was questioned about a black agenda, and this is what Kamala Harris has to say.
Do you support reparations for black people?
Well, listen, again, we had over 200 years of slavery. We had Jim Crow for almost a century. We had legalized discrimination, segregation, and now we have segregation and discrimination that is not legal but still exists and is a barrier to progress. We have disparities around housing. We have
All right, so the question that the lady asks already is, do you believe in a black agenda and supporting reparations? Immediately, as soon as somebody asks a question, we got to get these politicians giving us the politician answer, which means let's talk about the history, and then I will never get around to the answer to the question. My history is the answer to the question. This is the history of Black America and what blacks went through the through 300 years of slavery, through Jim Crow, through the Post-Immigration Act. These are the issues that black people went through. That's not the question she asked you, Ms. Harris. She asked you, did you support a black agenda with reparations attached to it? So let me let you continue to go around this circle in the style of Obama and Pete Buttigieg.
Disparities around education. We have disparities around income. And we have to recognize that everybody did not start out on an equal footing in this country.
All right, let me go back here. Because the sister's like, why is this chick giving me a history lesson? I already know this stuff. I don't need your history lesson. Answer the questions. But I got to be cordial because, sister girl, black girl power. I got to be cordial.
Everybody did not start out on an equal footing in this country. And in particular, black people have not. And so we have got to recognize.
Oh, God. See, this is what ticks me off. Everybody didn't start off on an equal footing in this country, and particularly black people. No, Kamala Harris, from the foundation of this country, black people never had equal footing, ever. The Native Americans had more power because this is originally their country. They had a little power before they got swindled out of it. We came into this place with no freaking power. None. Like I said, the Native American had to be conned out of theirs. Some of them were smart enough not to get conned. And they stood their ground, and a lot of them got slaughtered for it. And I'm telling you now, there's certain things you got to be willing to die for. Certain things cannot be done by by just compromise. And one of the reasons she is not running for office right now, because she showed shades of compromising, and she sound like the typical politician with these, I'm going to answer your question with a history lesson that we don't need, that like you don't know it.
That and do something about that and give folks a lift up. That's why, for example, I'm proposing the Lift Act. Give people who are making $100,000 or less as a family a tax credit.
Now, let me stop here. This is one of the reasons why the black people black support pushed away from Kamala Harris. This dumb, stupid, asinine answer that you giving this lady on the grill. That's why we need to get somebody a lift up. So lift up. We don't need a lift. We need a jump. We need a catapult. We need a launch. How are you going to call yourself lifting us up when you cannot lift up something and step on at the same time? You're trying to pull me up and they trying to step me on. Kick your hand so I can drop down even further. You sitting up here talking about that's why I propose a lift up. Let's give them a tax credit. Let's give us a tax credit. So you putting us on the same level as rich, wealthy people. Give us a tax credit. Like tax credit is going to close the wealth gap to make us just as wealthy as majority of American whites. A tax credit, a lift up. Well, the moment she said that, the black community began to lift that middle finger up to her. Because a tax credit will not help us in our need. I am so tired of politicians acting like they know what's best for us instead of letting us tell them what's best for us. You have not spent time in the black community. Matter of fact, since you became a senator, you spend more time with bougie elite white people with your white lawyer rich husband and his Hollywood elite clients. Yeah, he's an attorney that handle high profile Hollywood elite entertainers and things like that. You spend more time in that Hollywood circuit, in that Washington, D.C. circuit, in that New York circuit, that you don't take the time to come to the black community and spend time with us. You, like any other politician, think you know what we need versus what we desperately tell you what we have to have in order for us to survive. But I guess it's okay with you because you have no legacy. Out of all the children of your mother, I know you don't have any kids. I don't know about Maya or any of, I don't know about anybody else in your family. But you are leaving out of here without a seed. So you don't have an obligation to make sure the next generation is better off than your current generation. Why? Because you don't have a child. You don't have a seed to make you want more for your next generation. When you have that next generation come into your life, you want things to get better because you don't want them to go through what you went through. But contrary to fact, you don't know what it's like to be with child or have a child. You won't understand that. So it's easy for you to put out these truancy laws telling parents that if your child don't show up for school, I'm throwing you in jail. Not understanding what that parent have to go through with her, the child, that community, and dealing with gang violence in California and dealing with being pressured to join a gang. You don't know that because you don't spend time with the black community to listen to them. You're too busy with bougie Hollywood elites. You're too bougie with New York wealth life. You're too bougie with Miami wealth life. You don't spend time in the black community. And for you to sit here and say something dumb out your mouth saying that, well, that's why I'm proposing the LIFT program. I'll give you a tax credit. That way it'll close. That ain't going to close no wealth gap. That's not going to stop the deterioration of the original blacks that were here in this country. That's losing out in wealth. Wealth is power sometimes. Collectiveness is power, but wealth is a form of power. We are good at collectiveness, getting people together to mobilize, but we haven't been good to get the money, the power of money. And that's why we're pushing for reparations, and that's why they're in your face about it, and that's why they're saying no black agenda, no vote. Because we're tired of collecting ourselves together for a movement. It's time for us to get some of that power, which the white wealthy class have been having all their life. Money. The greatest fear in America is blacks beginning to organize and blacks with money begin to organize. That is the greatest fear, because that's the ability to gain ground. And your little Lift Act ain't gonna do that.
Which will benefit and uplift 60% of black families who are in poverty.
Affects black families.
Percent of black families who are in poverty.
So she's saying her little funky Lift Act is going to benefit 60% of the families that are in poverty. What about the 40%? Why you can't have a program that's going to make sure everybody be able to get in? You actually think 60% is enough to put a notch in your history as a legislator, as somebody that did something great for this country? 60%. That's what the Affordable Care Act was. 60% of the people got access to the Affordable Care Act, but the other 40% could not afford it. A lot of young people, they'd rather pay the penalty than to pay into Obamacare or Romney Care. It's really Romney Care. Obama took it from the Republican Massachusetts version of Romney Care and made it international. That's all it is. It's a Republican medical plan. And y'all guys are fighting so hard to try to keep that instead of giving us Medicare for all. Now, I don't have nothing against Medicare for all. We need it in this country, but there's something more desperate needed. My community need more than Medicare for all. You can give us all the Medicare you want. If we don't close that wealth gap, that's going to be a problem. And here she is talking about, oh, let's just give people a lift up. That's going to help 60% of the people that's in poverty. What about the people that are middle class blacks? What about the people who are wealthy blacks? The bottom line, the black community need to come up in wealth. Majority of the dollars are going right back into the white community. And that need to change. And the only reason it's not going into the black community is because these freaking laws that's put in place. And that's why we put people like you in office to change those laws. And you talking about a funky left program. Let me keep going.
So by default, it affects black families, but there's not a particular policy for African Americans that you...
Now, the sister just asked this question. Great question. So by default, you saying this left plan will help 60% of blacks in poverty. What you're really saying is this left plan will help, this tax credit will help with 60% of people in general. You don't have something that's going to help black people outside of that all people's demographic. Because right now, black community is not going through things that majority of people are going through. So we need to have something that's specific to stop that. We have specific things going on in our community that most people are not going through in their community. So you're telling me you're not going to have a separate agenda to deal with those issues, that you're going to think having us in this category of all people will help that general issue in the black community? This is what she has to say. In other words, what I'm saying is Kamala Harris saying, well, my program is going to help all people. That's great, but there's certain needs that all people don't have. Only black people have it. And that's closing the wealth gap. Somehow the way this system is taking all the dollars that's coming out of the black community and going into white community. When the black community try to come up with inventions and businesses and things like that, it's harder for us to get it started. It's harder for us to launch it because of these laws. And therefore, it's easy for somebody who got money to buy us out because we seem like we can't get this thing launched off. So it's easy for them to buy us out on it. So some of us have a lot of money and some of us still don't get the benefit in the whole spectrum between the wealth gap between blacks and whites. Happens all the time. We get all these startups coming up from the black community. We can't even get the money to push them. So whether let them die when we die, a lot of us go ahead and sell it out to some other company, some white, Arab, or whatever. We'll sell it out. But that's what you call a sellout. I don't really want to sell out. It's that I'm unable to get the funding. And as soon as we try to get the black collective to get involved with that, you got some kind of law to stop blacks from getting involved in it. So it's so much going on when it come to dealing with the needs of the black community that are systemic. It's blocking us from advancing. We're full of doctors, lawyers. We're full of inventors, creators. We're full of innovators. We got all that, but we cannot get that stuff out because we're lacking in funding. We're lacking in the ability to get the advertising dollars or whatever. That's what this whole Comcast versus Byron Allen is all about. They're limiting the black community. Your funky Lift Act is not going to fix that, girl. And the nerves of you thinking that's what it's going to take hurt your campaign. You should have been on the side with us talking about the things that's going to eliminate all this stuff blocking. And one of the things that would eliminate that is not only changing the laws that will open it up and make it easier for black people to go get through those areas real smooth, but to provide the funding that all blacks will be able to invest in innovative ideas, creative ideas, businesses, and things like that. And how do you do that? Reparations. The best way to do that is reparation. The government owes the black community. They the one said 30 acres and 40 acres in a mule. They the one put a price tag on that to $2-3 trillion. They the ones say we'll study it when it doesn't need to be studying anymore. The studying is done. We already have somebody implement it and put it into action. They admitted that. And here you are talking about, well, let's let them settle for a lift for now. Well, let's keep going.
But no, if you look at...
So the question the black sister asked, so this lift program isn't to help the black community. This is not helping the specific needs of blacks. This is really a plan that's going to help all people. Now, here's the thing about this plan. There's nothing wrong with policies that's going to help all people. It's always good that people have equality when it comes to health care, education, things like that. Nobody should be shut out. This is America, the land of the free, home of the brave. True equality should be done in this country. But here's the problem. Black people haven't gotten their full equality yet. And you got people come to the country and they get more equality than a lot of people who's been here since slavery. It's not their fault. It's just the way white supremacy in the system has it set up. There's certain laws that have been passed that allow that to happen. That's why when a Korean come into this country, they get 7 years of not paying taxes. But when a black person get ready to start a business, he gonna get crushed right at the beginning because the taxes is gonna kill him. There's no equality there. I can go on and on and on the different laws that have been passed to boost, to get, to get things coming in to boost America in innovation, and behind the innovation come the finances. That's why Chinese businesses can get more footing in America than African businesses. Yet African businesses can get more footing in America than black people who start businesses in America. So going back to what I'm saying, there's certain things that need to be changed, and blacks are demanding that we change it. Blacks are saying if you're not gonna come up with a black agenda to change these things, we already know, what needs to be done to lift up this community. We can hand it to you. If you go to the ADOS 101, you'll be able to see the things that need to happen. You'll be able to see the black agenda. In order to compete, these things have to be done. If they're not done, then you're rooting for the death of us progressing in America, because you're not giving us access to the very thing that will allow us to progress in America. That's why we're holding our vote. If you want our vote, you give us this. And that's what we've been telling her And look what she give us. Now the girl asked, so this all for all program is not going to do more for black people. It's just going to put us in the category with the rest of America. Like I said, nothing wrong with that, but that should be done after you lift us out of this mess. The lift should come from the black community, not from your brain. There's certain things that we must have in legislation. There's certain things that we demand, and we're not going to put you in office no more and then ask for it for you to slap our hand and tell us no. Or use that as a tool to get you to win the next election and the next election and the next election. No. Blacks are saying no. This is our demand now. And if we don't get it, forget us. Oh, but we got Trump. Yeah. Trump need to be the worst, the last of your problems. Not having the black community to back you up should be more scarier than Trump. You do understand that we've been dealing with Trumps all our lives. We've been able to shut up Trumps. We had to deal with LBJ wasn't supporting the black community. He was forced to support the black community because he needed the black community votes in order to win after John F. Kennedy got killed. John F. Kennedy was on the side, was working with blacks. Blacks were working with John F. Kennedy because blacks made a demand, and the demands, John F. Kennedy was willing to meet some of those demands in order to get more footing in with the American public. Lyndon B. Johnson wasn't that way. And with the combination of helping black people and a whole bunch of other things going on and possibly going after the mob and whatever, John F. Kennedy was assassinated. Now, after John F. Kennedy was gone, here's come Lyndon B. Johnson taking over the seat. White supremacy thought they had their seat back. Well, Lyndon B. Johnson was not a friend of black people. Matter of fact, him and Martin Luther King couldn't stand each other. But he realized his survival was based on how he dealt with Dr. King and how he dealt with the civil rights movement. And right after the civil rights movement was completed, the next movement came was the Poor People's Campaign. That is the campaign that got Martin Luther King killed. Because Martin Luther King, he literally said out of his mouth, the first time we march to get our equal rights, the next time we march is to get our money. In other words, Dr. King was saying, look, we're not equal in pay. And it's time that we get equal in pay. And as soon as you start talking equal in pay, that's when white government get nervous. They get scared. And they're going to try to shut that down. I mean, don't get me wrong. People may consider Bernie a bigot and all that, but let me tell you something. These white people ain't going to just let Bernie slide in there and talk about the basic things that most countries have. The man ain't talking about nothing more than the basic thing that most modern countries have. Healthcare, no cost college, no cost healthcare, and a workers' rights policy. They term that communism. Nah, that's what you call Democrats. That's the original Democratic platform by FDR. But back to Martin Luther King, the moment he started saying, no, we're not going to get you into nothing unless we have some equality here. That's how it started with the civil rights movement. And that's how it's going to start. And it was going to start with the Poor People's Campaign. Now, some people's movement want to be strictly black, and I get that. Some people movement say, hey, we need to allow all people to come involved. If they're genuine, they can get involved with this. Here's my deal. The bottom line is this. It's going back to the 60s now. You want our vote, you're going to have to make some concessions. You can never gain or grab power or take power back without a demand. You put your demand out there and you force them to give you the demand. Because if they want that seat, I don't care if it's community leader, city council, state legislator, all the way to the White House. If you want that seat, then you're going to represent your black community. Your black community is going to have a good footing Your black community has an agenda. And you better take that agenda and advocate that agenda, or you're not going to get a vote. She wasn't willing to get that. And people wonder why the black community was not in tune to Kamala Harris, because she spit in the face of black. She just assumed just because she's 25% black that black people was going to support her. Nobody's falling for that okie doke. Just because you black don't mean you got our best interests. It's a lot of black people who sold black people out. Al Sharpton is one. I can go on and on, but I'm going to stop there. But let's keep going.
For African Americans that you would explore.
But no, if you look at the reality of who will benefit from certain policies, when you take into account that they're not starting at the same place and they're not starting on equal footing, it will directly benefit black children, black families, black homeowners, because the disparities are so significant. So if we focus on the specific issues that have resulted in the greatest disparities, and we understand that that's part of why we're doing it. Listen, the reality also is this: any policy that will benefit black people will.
What she was about to do was explain us a whole bunch of poppycock, whole bunch of BS. She couldn't explain her answer. She's not good at that. Obama would have been good at that. You know, Obama would have said, well, first, I'm the president of all people, and I have to focus on all people, and the black community can wait. They can just wait till the next election. And next election, if you vote for me in, I'll make sure I have no reason not to. That's my last shot. And the policies that I proposed would have been considered Reagan Democrat policies. But look, that's the question you got to ask Joe. Joe's running now, and I'm going to be stumping for Joe soon. And, what was the question? She could not answer the lady's question, so she's going to go to the bottom line of what she's saying, which is a bunch of BS again.
That will benefit black people will benefit all of society. Let's be clear about that. Let's really disparities. And we understand that that's part of why we're doing it.
Now, I want you to listen closely to what she's about to say out of her mouth. She said, anything that benefit black people will benefit all people. Then why are you dancing around the issues of having a black agenda? Why are you dancing around the issues of catering toward the need of the black community urgently, advocating for it urgently? You were on the debate stage, and the white woman named Marianne Williamson, who a lot of people think is kooky and crazy because she teaches on love and she's considered a love guru like me, that she's weird, not understanding that she's actually smart and intelligent. And she's been preaching reparations before she even thought about running for office. It's part of her campaign of love, that love requires repairing. So she decides to put this in a policy in her presidential run, and she goes on stage to talk about reparations, and you gonna snatch the football out of her hand and throw it in the audience and get the focus on you. Well, me being the only black woman president, female black on this, what you did was you took a moment that would have helped the black community and made it a moment for yourself, you selfish, self-righteous woman. The issue was reparations. Marianne Williamson began to deal with the topic because she's the only one that proposed a reparation plan, the only one that said she'll support reparations, the only one that have a plan to distribute it out and let the black community mainly deal with the distribution. The woman who added a cash payment with the reparations, she said, yeah, there need to be cash payment. We owe the black community $12 trillion. And it's time for us to right that wrong and give them the $12 trillion. We've been robbing the black community for years, hundreds of years. And they had no way to fight that because we never gave them any legal rights to fight. Here she is ready to address it on the stage, and you gonna just snatch that ball and say, well, anybody need to be talking about reparations. Me being the only black female candidate on the stage. And then you said that and immediately took the conversation away from reparation. And you wonder why you lost black support. And here she is about to say, any policy that benefit black people will help all people. Then why you don't have a black agenda? Why you don't have policies focused on blacks in general, specific policies? Since you said it, well, if we're going to uplift the black community, all communities are going to be uplifted. Why are you going the opposite direction? I think I'm going to uplift all other community, and the black community will be able to benefit from that. We don't want crumbs. We want steak and potatoes. We the one killed the cow. We the one carved up the cow. We the one went out there and picked the potatoes out the ground. We the one skinned the potatoes, mashed them up, cooked them up, and all so you can eat. It's time for us to eat some of that too. We did all the work. Now we understand it's equal footing because we didn't own the land, we didn't own the cow, we didn't own the potato seeds. But we sure harvest that. We sure nurtured it and harvested and fed you with it. So we are rightfully deserving to get a plate too. Because you didn't pay us, you got it off free labor.
Listen, the reality also is this. Any policy that will benefit black people will benefit all of society. Let's be clear about that. Let's really be clear about that.
Let's be clear about this. Let's be really, really clear about this. Any benefit that's going to benefit black people going to benefit all people. Then focus on something for black people in general so it can benefit all people. You're going the opposite direction. Your pretty eyes ain't going to get you through this, girl. See, those pretty eyes probably got Willie Brown, but they ain't going to get Robert Brown. Nah. You ain't going to sweet talk your way out of this one.
So I'm not going to sit here and say I'm going to do something that's only going to benefit black people. No.
That's what killed her campaign in the black community. So I'm not just going to sit here and say I'm going to do something that's only going to benefit black people. No. That was the dagger. That was the fatal attack, the fatality. That was the blunt object that killed their campaign in the black community. It was over in the black community before it officially became over last week. Black people was not going to feel her, and you can black shame them. You can make them feel like you can fearmonger them into y'all gonna mess around. You can fearmonger us into with Trump. You can fearmonger us into all this other stuff. But let me tell you something. Please understand this. We've been facing fears all our lives. You can keep fearmongering all I want. We'll go through the fear. We'll go through the fire. We'll go through death if we have to make sure that we get what's rightfully ours. Rightfully ours. We're not asking for this. We're demanding this. Nobody asking for no handout. You owe this. And here she talking about. Let me repeat this. This is the killer of her campaign. These words right here.
I'm going to sit here and say I'm going to do something that's only going to benefit black. Let's really be clear about that. So I'm not going to sit here and say I'm going to do something that's only going to benefit black people. No. So I'm not going to sit here and say I'm going to do something that's only going to benefit black people. No. So I'm not going to sit here and say I'm going to do something that's only going to benefit black people. No. So I'm not going to sit here and say I'm going to do something that's only going to benefit black people. No. So I'm not going to sit here and say I'm going to do something that's only going to benefit black people. No. Because whatever benefit. So I'm not going to sit here and say.
I played that a few times because look at her arrogance, her cockiness. She's dancing with this thing. She moving way in back with the smirk on her face. Looking like Herman Munster with a wig on. She's arrogantly saying, see, I'm not going to, you're on the grill. You would have made Mother Jones turn in her grave. Listen, watch this one more time, then I'm done. The arrogance, the cockiness. I don't know what it is with people. Like I said, she's interracial. Half her is East Indian. 25% of her is Scotch Irish. She do got 25% Jamaican in her, so I guess that's the black part, but Jamaican is a nationality, it's not a color. But majority of Jamaica is black, but there are other colors in Jamaica. So she married to a white guy. Okay. All right. Some people, they're upping in. This is not something that happened because of her color. Her interracial color. Nothing happened this is not where this spewing off. This is not where it's spewing off. It's not spewing off in the fact that this is the way she was brought up. She was raised as a little East Indian girl, and not just a little East Indian girl. She was raised up in the prominent faction of East India culture, East Indian culture. It's like being raised up in what they call upper society blacks. The boulets. That's what she is. A boule. She never lived the black experience. She grew up in Canada as a teenager. The closest thing she got to a black experience was when she was in college at Howard University and she joined that sorority. I don't think the cops was going in harassing sorority sisters. They probably was harassing the fraternity brothers. That was her first taste of black life. She moved back to California, and that's where she got her experiences in the black community, I guess. She became a prosecutor back in Oakland, California. Prosecutor now, the ones who put people in jail, not the one who defends black people, the one who put them in jail. I guarantee you, majority of her defenses were against black men, some black women. That's how she built her career. So when she say things like, I ain't gonna do nothing just for black people, nah, she really means that. And that's why she's sitting on the bench right now on the sidelines while other people are moving on with their election. Now, she qualified for the debates. And honestly speaking, I think it was too early for her to drop out myself. I think it's too early for anybody to drop out the race pre the Iowa caucuses. After the Iowa caucus, you gauge yourself and then you determine to drop out or not. Let's finish this and I'm done.
So I'm not going to sit here and say I'm going to do something that's only going to benefit black people. No.
That's the killer of her campaign. She's telling you in her phrase, I ain't going to do nothing only just to benefit you. No. But she signed off in bills and drafted bills to deal with DACA, support of DACA, immigration bills. She signed off on legislation that will help her Indian people. A couple of laws in California she pushed and signed off for. So it's not like she's not willing to do certain things for certain cultures. It's not that she don't have the power and she won't sign off for it. She's done it in the past. But when it comes to us, no. But you want our vote. And you thought you were going to rebuild the Obama coalition. See, after that second term, when Obama went the last 4 terms, still didn't do nothing for black people. Black people ain't not falling for the okie doke no more. We got conned into a person being in office for 8 years, and though he was charming, though he was likable, yet behind the closed doors he was doing some horrible things too. But we didn't see all that behind the charm and the smile and, meet Michelle and Sasha and Malia, and we're going to have a turkey party, and we're going to invite all America to come to our turkey party. We're going to have the biggest Christmas party. We're going to invite my good friend Jay-Z, and we're going to invite his wife, his lovely wife, Sasha Fierce. Is that her name? Oh, Beyonce. Jay-Z is going to be there. Beyonce is going to be there, and we're going to have a party, and we're going to dust it off our shoulders. Yet at the same time, he was doing horrible things. You didn't see that. She ain't got that. She's letting you know in your face, I ain't going to do nothing for you. Just for you. But yet you want just us to get you over to win the election. And I'm telling you, this pattern is going to happen over and over again through this primary process. The black community is going to ask you, what are you going to do for us? Hell with everybody else. What you going to do for us? Not hating on them, but right now, hell for them. They're not dying out in this country. We're depleting in funding and finances in our community, but because you won't rightfully allow us to have the power and the access to build for our community like we used to do back in the 70s and 80s and 60s and 40s. And if you ain't got an answer for that, you're next to drop. Next two people to go, target's on Pete Buttigieg now. Because Pete Booty need our black vote. He desperately want it. But currently, he got his own issues in South Bend, Indiana with the black community. And if you can't fix that issue in the black community in South Bend, what in the hell you think you're going to do in America?
Because whatever benefits that black family will benefit that community and society as a whole and the country. Right?
So saying all that, Miss Sweet Lady, Miss Smart Lady, whatever benefit that black community, benefit the community and the country in the whole, then you should be focusing on policies to really, let's be really clear. You need some policies to really lift the black community from out of that wealth gap that we have between blacks and white. There's certain things in that that's stopping us from having the same amount of wealth as white people. There's no reason why the white community should have that much of a gap from the black community. We built this country. We fashioned this country. Heck, you couldn't even ride down a street without black ingenuity. We the one created the traffic lights and a whole bunch of other stuff. And now we are able to do more creation, but you won't allow us because you won't get us some funding. What you want to do is have the white community buy us out. And if they do that, then we definitely not going to be able to get any wealth in this community. Our goal is to close the wealth gap. A loan program ain't going to do that. More money into education is great, but it's not going to close the wealth gap. Medicare for all is great, not going to close the wealth gap. This is a serious matter. She's out. She's lucky she'll be able to keep her Senate seat because right now she's not even polling well in California. Here she is, the person who led California as the top cop. Yeah, I said it, top cop. Kamala was a cop. That's what you call an attorney general, the top cop. For those who saying the top cop was a narrative to kill Kamala Harris campaign. She was a top cop. They termed top cop for every attorney general in the freaking country. Right now, we got William Barr. He's the top cop of this country. We called Eric, what's his name? Eric Holder. We called him the top cop. We called him Obama's top cop. She was the top cop. So the term Kamala is a cop is true. As district attorney, you're a cop. You're the top cop of that town. And these people trip me out with these so-called narrative. She killed her own campaign with BS like this. It's not us terming her top cop. It's us bringing up her record, herself calling her top cop in one of her TED Talks or whatever you want to call it, on the stage calling her the top cop. She termed herself the top police officer as district attorney. She talked about how she wheeled her badge around to strike fear in the hearts of parents in the community if their child don't go to school. She was going to lock them up. She did that. And you looking at people like me? I'm just telling you the truth. The reason she is not in this campaign no more is stupid statements like that. Are you going to do something to help lift the black community? Well, I got a policy that's going to lift up all communities, so automatically by default the black people are going to be lifted up. No, it won't. No, it won't. We have specific needs that need to be dealt with because we're not trying to be put on. We need to compete with the whites. Right now, all communities are behind when it comes to wealth in this country. The white community got them beat. And in America, that is not equality. We're talking about wealth equality. And even Bernie Sanders, his plan is not going to close that wealth gap between blacks and whites. We got it worse. We got it worse, and we the one helped build this country from the ground up. While they sat on their porch, fanning their fan at their plantation, drinking lemonade. Not getting one dime for it. Chicken scrap, pork scrap, chitlins for food and all that kind of stuff. And if we didn't make our quota, we got beaten. Don't tell me you don't owe us nothing. Don't tell us, oh, forget about that. Let me tell you something. If you got in a car accident and your child get killed and Walmart was behind the death of your child, one of the first things you're going to go for is a wrongful death suit. You're going to make Walmart pay. Or you're going to just let Walmart just slide by and not give you lost your very own child. And you don't think they should pay for, oh, I forgive them. Yeah, man, go ahead with that stuff. I'm not going to ever get my child back. I need to hit you so you don't do this ever again. And I need to hit you in your pocket. And that's the same thing with this. The best thing to make sure America would never, ever go back to that mess of Jim Crow, that mess of slavery, hit them in their pockets. That will never happen again. But some of you feel that if your political person don't, it'll be detrimental to their campaign if they pick up this issue. I'm here letting you know right now, it's going to be detrimental to their campaign if they don't pick up the issue. So dang you do, dang you don't. I say dang you do. Don't you dare neglect the needs of the black community and blow them off by saying, no. Anybody talk like that will not be the nominee for the Democratic Party or President of the United States. I'm Robert Brown with the Rob Report. I have another segment coming up on why Kamala Harris' campaign got killed. This is the second reason. The second reason is her basically saying, I ain't gonna do just anything for the black community. Yet you supposed to call yourself on that stage the only black female running for office. You ain't no Shirley Chisholm. Get out of here.